Hi, everyone. Okay, I don't have the slide. Maybe I'll start by introducing myself. So Ghazi from Zama. We're the company behind FHE to bring compliance and confidentiality on-chain. So we're at the Stable Summit, and the question is, why would we need confidentiality for stablecoins? And there are many use cases that we have encountered as we deal with our clients that I wanted to share with you today. So the first one is, we're currently running a number of POCs with private equities and mutual funds that want to tokenize their LP shares. Here comes the problem. So they have clients that want to leverage the composability while keeping the confidentiality of public blockchains. If you want to preserve the confidentiality end-to-end, when you buy shares, you need to mask the amount. Otherwise, people know how much shares you bought. When you pay dividends, same thing. If a share pays 10 cents and I see that $1,000 have arrived on my stablecoin, then I know that I have 10,000 shares. So what people do, they basically do off-chain payments. They can't use stablecoins if confidentiality is an issue for their clients. And so for these, they're reinventing the wheel pretty much. So we have two private equities that are going to release a confidential stablecoin to be able to trade and distribute dividends for the clients that chose to have confidential LP shares. But here is another one. If you're doing remittances, which is a big use case for stablecoins, and you're doing it on a public blockchain, everyone knows your balance. Which means if you are in a not-so-safe country, some people may know that you have just received $500 or $1,000 and may come after you. And so by, again, providing the confidentiality, people know that you got a transfer, they just don't know how much you got. Corporate payments. So as companies, and this is very nascent today, but as companies adopt stablecoins to pay their suppliers, they don't necessarily want to know, they don't necessarily want all their competitors to know how much they pay to whom. So confidentiality, again, is a requirement. Salaries and compensations, so this is more of a GDPR topic. If, under GDPR, salaries are considered private data, which means your employee needs to consent to receive his payments in a clear, public, non-encrypted way. And finally, withholding taxes, so same thing. In certain countries, the withholding tax rate divulgates information about your private data. It could be the church tax in Germany. It could be the income bracket in some other countries that don't have flat taxes. So for these, again, withholding taxes will tell private information about the receiver. So how do we do it? And this is something that we're announcing at the SEC this week. We've started FHE about a year ago. The journey was to run FHE on extended EVMs. And if in case you're following us, we've already signed a number of clients. But the next step is to bring it to any public blockchain. So tomorrow we're announcing how we bring confidentiality and compliance to Ethereum and other EVM-based public blockchains. The idea is basically an Ethereum smart contract or a Polygon smart contract will continue to function as it used to, but will have handles to encrypted data and will be able to leverage an FHE coprocessor to execute any smart contract operations they want. So they can compare, they can add, they can subtract, they can multiply, like they would on Solidity, except that they're not manipulating clear data, they're manipulating encrypted data, and the validators executing the smart contracts don't see anything. They just take encrypted inputs, they execute the smart contracts, they get encrypted outputs without having decrypted anything. The only people who can decrypt are obviously the account holder and any other wallet address that has been cleared on the smart contract. These wallets would be, these addresses would be typically the regulators and the compliance officers. So let's say HSBC, is issuing the smart contract, and they want to make sure that all the HSBC clients are visible to HSBC compliance officer. They can do that. But it could also be the French regulator who wants to see the balances and transaction values of all the accounts coming from France. And so that's what we mean by compliance and regulatory compliant confidentiality. Whatever the conditions are explicitly stated on the smart contract, so people know there is an audit log and there is a compliance that comes at whatever level that needs to come. We therefore position the public FHE blockchain as the best of the two worlds. The public blockchains had a lack of confidentiality that prevented them from taking care of certain use cases. The private blockchains were great, but you had to trust those who were running the private blockchains, and two, composability was an issue. And so we come and bridge these two worlds. We're still public, we're just protecting the data that needs to be protected. And in the case of stablecoins, what we've seen is that certain stablecoin providers wanted to keep balances encrypted, so they still have the old world where there is a clear balance, and they also have a second balance that is encrypted to be able to deal with the special use cases where such confidentiality is required. And I mean, I see that almost over time, so I'll leave it to some questions. Otherwise, happy to see you in the coming, today or in the coming days at SCC. Thank you.
No? Questions? Yeah, you should ask.
I haven't seen. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious about the way you give access to regulators. Is access always granted, and can they surveil everything, or is there any friction in obtaining that access? So I think it's important to have some.
The access is in the smart contract. So in the public smart contract running on Ethereum, you have a list of addresses with conditions around what access, whether they can get access or not. So that's why I mentioned if you are HSBC and you want to see your HSBC accounts, you could have a function in the smart contract that says if the wallet is coming from an HSBC compliance officer, and if the account is an HSBC account, then I will grant you the access to that, to certain information or to all information or to a score on that account. So but it's explicit. So it's not someone who can get the access. The access is granted in an explicit way. And on the decryption processor, you will see that whoever is the compliance officer has requested and was granted access to check your balances. So there is full transparency on both sides. Who gets access, on what conditions, but also who used that access and when. To basically avoid frauds and it's for cybersecurity reasons. I mean, most of our clients are, again, more on the private equity and mutual funds, so regulation is top of mind for them.